Amani Loubani, talk to us. Tell us a bit about your position here in the commune. What your position entails.
So, just as you said, my name is Amani Loubani and I'm the Deputy Mayor in Malmö, responsible for democracy and human rights.
In your day-to-day duties, being responsible for democracy and human rights, what does it entail? What are the nitty-gritties on your desk?
Yes, so what we're doing is working to improve and increase the inclusion and participation of all the citizens of Malmö in all aspects of our city, and that entails several actions. We have a policy for human rights, and we make sure that our city and 30,000 employees get involved in taking it from words to action. We also have specific, so on top of the general policy and plans on how we want to work, we have specific action plans on certain forms of racism, because we know, although there is a general idea of racism, each form has its own way of being expressed. And so we have separate action plans, for instance, one on Afrophobia, which will be decided on this year, 2024.
I will come to Afrophobia in just a minute. In bringing the community together to be involved and participate in the activities of the city, it also involves elections and voting. In your own opinion, what was the participation like from the immigrants in the last election?
Yes, so we had seen an improving trend in participation and elections in the past more than 10 years, but that trend was broken in the last elections. It was the first time in many years that we have seen that the level of participation became less, not more. So, and specifically in the areas where there is a higher rate of people with an immigrant background. So people with an immigrant background tended to vote less than they used to do in the past. And just as you said, election day is very important, because that is a day when your vote is just the same as any other person's vote. It counts the same. It's very important to make your voice heard. But we work on that now. We have identified the different reasons for that in a special report that our city has ordered, and we already have it ready, and it's the basis for the way we work to improve participation, not only on election day but actually all the time in democracy, because democracy is a living participatory organism.
Exercise, yes. Do you mind sharing some of those findings with us?
Yes, so we identified that there's some reasons for people not to participate is knowledge. They don't know enough how to vote, if they can vote, if they're eligible, where to vote, etc. So knowledge is the first issue that we found. The second issue we found is practical issues. It's about not having time, having maybe children, or feeling that it's too far to the voting area, or feeling that you don't know where your röstkort, which is card for voting, where it is.
Yes.
So some practical information. And then the third barrier that we identified is the emotional barrier, feeling that my vote doesn't count anyway, no matter who I vote for. And that's about trust. So these are the fingings, the knowledge, knowing how, where and when to vote, practical issues of being able to vote, possibilities, it's about accessibility, and then the emotional barriers about trust and feeling that my vote counts.
Who can vote in Malmö?
So in the general elections, voting for Malmö City, if you're so the local elections, anyone who has been living in the city for 3 years can vote in the elections. It's 3 years. It's now we have the EU elections coming, and to be able to vote in the EU elections, you have to be an EU citizen. So even if you have a citizenship from another EU country, you can vote in Sweden, but you cannot vote if you don't have a citizenship in one of the EU countries. So it differs from different.
But generally, people who live and reside here can vote in a commune when they stay here for more than 3 years. They can vote.
Yeah.
They don't need to be citizens. Okay.
Yeah, 3 years.
Okay,
yes.
good. Now let's delve into your plan against Afrophobia, because that is one of the reasons why we are here. Tell us, you talked to me the last time we met at an event about your plans against Afrophobia and racism against black people especially. What are these plans?
Yes, so first just a small comment about the identified barriers, just to see how Afrophobia comes in line with that.
Okay.
So we have an extensive plan for accessibility, tackling how to face this knowledge gap and the practical gaps. It's an extensive action plan for accessibility when it comes to elections. People should feel it's easy to vote, and I know how to vote in different languages, in different places, making it as easy and accessible as possible. So that's how we tackle the first two barriers. The third barrier, with the emotional and the building trust, we have now improved different ways for citizens of Malmö to feel that their vote counts, that they are participating in the city and they are being included. And inclusion, we have dialogue with citizens so that even between elections, people feel that it matters. Their opinions matter. So we have something called Forum for Democracy and Human Rights. It's a way of listening to different citizens in different areas in between elections. And so this is the general idea, also with the policy for human rights that we have in the city. We want to increase inclusion, we want to improve participation. But we know that participation is also being hindered by other forms such as racism, makes people less, and discrimination, less able and less willing to participate. And that's why we have to tackle racism. And looking at a general way of working with racism, we see that we may miss that different types of racism are expressed differently. We need more knowledge about each form of racism. And so the city is very ambitious and will work on the major forms of racism. We already have an extensive action plan for tackling anti-Semitism, one on Islamophobia, one on anti-Ziganism, and also one on Afrophobia. So to tell you about the action plan on Afrophobia,
Yes.
We will be looking at, first of all, the definition and increasing awareness in our city and among our employees. So among the employees, 30,000 employees, but also in general in our city, raising awareness. But also about making the stories take space and place in our city. So we're looking at through Open Malmö, Öppna Malmö, is an umbrella project, you could say, or not even project, it's a continuous way of working with promoting diversity and promoting black culture and expression and black artists' way of dealing with different issues. So in Malmö now, you can walk around and find a lot of exhibitions or expressions and music, but also to basically all kinds of cultural expressions, so that people see Afrophobia or African culture taking place in our city, and a natural part of our city. So raising awareness is one, making sure that it's the visibility of the culture is one, but also the human resource aspect about employment. We know that a lot of discrimination is taking place in employment.
Exactly. I was going to ask you that, but I wanted to ask you first about the Malmö Stad itself. The last year, I asked Sedat Arif how many percent of the employees in Malmö Stad are immigrants. He said about 20% or thereabout. And the last time I asked you, it was 18% or thereabout. So we're hovering between 18% to 22%. Give us a timeline. What are the strategic measures to increase this percentage?
Yes, I think that's among managers, because employees with a foreign background are about just about 40%. But among managers, it's about 18%. So what we're doing is we have a specific work, because we've worked on this all the years in the past, improving. It's part of the workplace environment. But now we have something, it's a European Social Fund, in participation with the ESF, European Social Fund, a 3-year project where we have identified 6 measures that we do to increase the level of managers with a foreign background, and also raising awareness about discrimination in general, and how when you recruit, you should recruit based on competences and not anything else, stereotypes or so. So that is based on informing our employees, telling them that this is something we're working on changing the culture by raising awareness and informing and educating, but also following it up in our ordinary system of following up. So how is it going?
But is there an affirmative action, like you must employ this percentage of immigrants so we can meet our target?
Well, we are saying that we have to be an inclusive employer. We cannot. What we say is we need to raise the level. We will need to mirror the citizens of Malmö. So we need to mirror the citizens of Malmö. So that is a different way of expressing a willingness that we want to see more managers, more people making their way to management and also getting the jobs. Now that is also based on the fact we already know that there is discrimination in the workplace. I mean, we've seen the latest report from the union Kommunal. So it's one of the bigger unions in Sweden. It plays an important role. They have done an excellent report. I think I was very happy to see that they are shedding light on these issues of discrimination. And one of the findings was, if you come from an African country or from the African continent, you have it's a 300% higher chance of having a temporary contract in comparison to Swedish or Nordic citizens who would have a higher chance of getting a permanent job. So it's much more likely you will be in temporary employment if you come from an African country or you have an African background. So we see these, we know that the Crime Prevention Council also has reports about discrimination, particularly in the workplace, how it also is expressed in differences in salary levels and so on. So based on these reports, we know there is more to do, and we know that there should be, that we need to remove that form of discrimination which can be visible or invisible. One of the steps we do is we've removed this letter, personal letter, to make sure that employment or recruiters only look to the content of your CV and what you actually have worked with, rather than you telling about personal issues that took place.
Exactly. I think that's very beautiful, because when I read that, I picked that out. I said, this is fantastic. I wish every other commune can copy what you guys did, because that's a way of removing the race area and talking about your background. No, just focus on competence. But then, in say 3 years, how many percent of the managers do you hope to make immigrants background? Do you have any idea?
I certainly hope that it will increase, because what we've seen in the last maybe 10 years, it's been increasing very marginally. So it's been an area that's been difficult to tackle for some reason. But now the extensive measures we do about specific mentorship as well, we talk about people who are employed and how to make sure that they get mentors and support within our organization. We have departments that have taken this as part of their own goal to incorporate this work and follow up with each manager through also working with something called Aktiva Åtgärder. My real hope is that we will have a change in culture, the way we see each other, the way we see people with a different background, and into a more focus on competencies and professionalism. And I think that will be very good both for the city as an employer and for people working in the city. So I hope that we will see progression in the right direction.
When I also read through the document from Malmö Commune that I got from Vanessa, I read through, I saw where you participated at the event sometime last year, Afrophobia, Do och Nu. Tell us, what are the changes? Do you see changes in Malmö from the past 5 years till now? Do you see great changes when it comes to Afrophobia and inclusiveness and a more tolerant society?
Well, since you're asking me what I see, and it is also part of my job to see what is being done, and I do feel that there are a lot of initiatives, much more than people know about, really. I mean, once I follow up on these issues, I see that everywhere in our city there will be this Black Archives Sweden collecting about the history of families living here, who they are, how they celebrate, doing exhibitions about that. Also, Öppna Malmö giving funds every year to civil society to promote diversity and to promote the visibility of people of African descent and people of color. And I see there are a lot of initiatives, and there's a variety of initiatives. I also see and know that there will be even more done in schools, in the schools of the city. We will give more funds at the city to work on that. But already now, by talking about Afrophobia, we've seen that in the past conference, participation from people working in schools, raising awareness about this is making people thinking about it and taking it to their own departments in different ways. I will also raise one example. We had one of our employees, she got the prize for best contribution in the category of ethnic background, and this employee, Zainab, let me see, double check her surname, Ismail Jones. She's employed in the city of Malmö, and she informs and educates people about how different color of skin affects medical assistance and help, to raise awareness about how we can treat people differently based also on the different colors of their skin. I see a lot happening in Malmö. I'm very optimistic about that, and I see that both in the health, culture, music, education, but also, as I said, in our HR we are seeing a lot of initiatives, and we will be seeing many, many more when our action plan is decided. So I'm optimistic about that.
When is this action plan going to be decided? Haven't you started, or are you just making plans to start already?
I would say we have started. We have a team working on the action plan, and it's ongoing. We have a plan for when it will be decided, and it will be during this year. The reason why I don't give you sort of a specific date is because we are keen to have a dialogue with civil society to make sure that the African community in Malmö, or Afro community in Malmö, has a voice in this. What do they think about the plan before we decide on it? And that is part of the process. So this year we will decide on it, and it will include what, all our ambitions about our HR, employment, education, schools, and so on, culture.
I hope you know a lot of other cities are going to be emulating Malmö. I was supposed to talk with Stockholm, but I pushed the interview until I met you because there are just this place just reminds me of home. When you come to Malmö, you almost feel like you're home because every person from different background are here, and you are free, So tell us your collaboration with these other cities, like I read in the document.
Yes, so Malmö not only is very ambitious in our own city, we want to make a change and make an effect outside our borders. So we're part of something called local UNESCO cooperation, lokal UNESCO samverkan in Sweden. I don't think Stockholm is not part of it, but other cities are part of it, and we try to promote diversity and raise awareness about these issues through this network. And actually, one of the winners of the prize, the Lux Prize for last year, was Zakaria Hirsi, who works on something called Collective Sorry, and something I would recommend to it's a very ambitious project. So that yes, through this network, but also in Europe. I'm the representative for Malmö in a network called European Coalition of Cities Against Racism, ECAR. So this is a network working in Europe, collaborates with the European Commission, and also it's under the UNESCO. And there is a specific work on Afrophobia, and Malmö is active in that. We have also invited civil society representatives to be active with us, with the city, across Europe, and both to raise awareness, but also to impact the coming recommendations and actions that can be taken and learned across all of Europe. So we hope that we can make an effect in all of Sweden, but also all of Europe.
Okay, tell us something we don't know about your work, about Malmö. Tell us something that we don't know, that you feel we must know about what you're doing.
I would say, first of all, that Malmö is a very ambitious city where people are making progress. I believe that, just as you said, many people feel like Malmö is home, that they can be free, that they can be themselves. And we have a specific work directed at increasing this feeling. The work with Öppna Malmö is specifically, the goal of that is that people will feel pride in their identity and background. So in Malmö we are courageous, we take steps, and we believe in people, we believe in diversity, and I think we are making progress already and will be doing in the coming years. So I don't know if it's something that you didn't know before, but I just want to underline that we're doing well in Malmö, in this area.
Amani Loubani, thank you very much.
Thank you.